Mr. Speaker, in this House we use a manual of rules that was written by Thomas Jefferson. In 1801, when he began writing his manual of parliamentary procedures, he surely imagined a chamber which followed the rules would be orderly, steadfast, and unwavering, and that could govern our nation in a respectable way. But under the current majority's rule, this House stands in deep contrast to that ideal. Yet again, we stand on the brink, on the edge, on the precipice of a shutdown. After 4 years of this kind of leadership, of self-inflicted wounds and manufactured crises, one would think the House majority would have learned their lesson. It is clear today that they have not. First, Republicans promised when they took control of this chamber that they would govern prudently and fairly and openly with regular order. We haven't seen any of that. Then last November, when Republicans took control of the Senate, we were promised that 2 chambers under Republican rule would be better than 1, and that the games would be over, and we surely haven't seen any of that either. The House majority is not content to double down on their vendetta against the president. They want to find their own party in the process. To the best of my knowledge, every president since Eisenhower, Republican and Democrat, have set some immigration enforcement and other priorities through executive order. But the majority's contempt for this president is so strong that they are engaging in an intra-party war while Rome is burning around them to see who can punish him the hardest. Mr. Speaker, as we stand here debating this, the Senate is poised to send us a clean, bipartisan bill to fund the Department of Homeland Security to the end of the fiscal year. The Republican Senate, with help from Democrat senators, is ready to do what's right for the country, but the House is so blinded by their need to discredit and disparage the president that they risk the very security of our nation for political games. House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi offered Speaker Boehner all 188 Democrat votes on a clean bill to fund the Department of Homeland Security. He would have only needed to come up with 30. But the Speaker refused to take them. And if this dangerous continuing resolution were to pass, it will not be because of the Democrat support. It will be pure Republican. Democrats have been shut out of the process yet again, and today's closed rule brings the tally to 13 closed rules of the 18 rules passed in the 114th Congress. The Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, Jay Johnson, sent a letter to congressional leaders yesterday which laid out what's at stake if his department's funding is disrupted, either through shutdown or short-term continuing resolution. From maintaining the airport security to helping us recover from one of the harshest winters in generations, to guarding against cyber threats, to keeping the Coast Guard and monitoring possible lone wolf attacks on our homeland by ISIS, the House majority is threatening the safety and security of our nation. Secretary Johnson went on to say, and I quote, as I have noted many times, excuse me, mere extension of a continuing resolution has many of the same negative impacts. In other words, a short-term solution simply keeps us going on this cliffhanger. It exacerbates the uncertainty for my workforce and puts us back in the same position on the brink of a shutdown just days from now, end quote. How in the world could we run the United States like this? What must the rest of the world think of us as we flounder around here trying to inflict all the pain we can on the President of the United States? And in any case of that is more important to too many members of this House. The prime reason for being here is to tear down the government and the President. And, Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent to insert the text of the letter from Secretary Johnson to congressional leaders dated 26 February 2015 into the record.
Without objection.
Now, these are the consequences of the actions of the Chamber's majority. Real and dangerous consequences, no certainty, no safety, no end in sight. I say to my colleagues in the majority, the Senate is giving you a way out of this thorny, treacherous brush that you have built up around yourselves. And I urge you and I implore you to follow the path out of that brush. It's the right thing to do for the country, and it's certainly the right thing to do for this institution. Mr.